It is almost hoop season. The Badgers have a new star point guard. What is Wisconsin getting with Nick Boyd? We have somebody coming on the show that's going to break his game down, what he's like in crunch time, offense, defense, plus your questions on the new Wisconsin point guard. Coming up next, Locked On Badgers. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Wisconsin Badgers fans? Welcome back to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Ryan Harings. Appreciate everybody tuning in every day, making this one of your first listens, for being an everydayer. Y'all are incredible. This community is amazing. Thank you for being a part of that. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins over at FanDuel. Today's episode, we got JJ Metz joining the show. He's covered Nick Boyd at FAU. He's going to break down the game, kind of give us a sneak preview of what is coming to Madison with this really talented point guard. And let's welcome JJ onto the show, man. Thank you for jumping on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
Ryan, it's a pleasure to be on. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm excited to talk some Nick Boyd.
Let's do it, man. I almost want to start here. Nick Boyd at FAU for 4 years. He redshirted 1 year, so you were able to see him for a couple years there. Give us the scouting report on Nick Boyd. Let's start offensively.
Yeah, so Nick's a very smart point guard, and he really is good at making the right reads, and he really thrives in pick and roll situations. He's not a typical type of guard who's going to want to take it to the hoop in himself in ISO. He's really good at the pick and roll and reading the defense off screens. And he's not a guy who's going to want to score himself, cut to the hoop all the time. He's going to try to get his teammates involved. He's going to hit an open shooter. He's going to want to control the tempo on offense. So overall, offensively, pick and roll is where we're going to see him most. He's an excellent playmaker and facilitator with just getting his teammates involved. He rates in the top 85 percentile in assist rate with his 27.3% assist rate. And as you mentioned, I covered him at FAU. It's been great to see him grow from his days at FAU to San Diego State. He did have that one red shirt, as you mentioned, where he was injured throughout the season, but he's really improved throughout every single season. I expect a big jump in his game this season as well.
Man, I love that you went right to the pick and roll, because watching film, I was able to dive in on synergy and kind of see some of what he did on the court at FAU and at San Diego State, obviously. And pick and roll is the first thing I highlighted. He navigates it with a lot of players, as you know, will just kind of fly off that pick and roll, run right into defense, not read it. He has pace when he navigates it. And I wanted to ask you this specifically, because the Wisconsin Badgers offense this year is going to have a ton of shooting, which is going to open up that pick and roll game. What is Nick Boyd going to do with a bunch of space in the pick and roll game?
Yeah, 100%. So when the defense gives him a lot of space, they're usually going to go under the screen, which means they'll go behind the person on the screen, which is going to give him space. And when he has space, he's going to pull up and shoot it himself. He's not going to try to get to the hoop when they are going under the screen and giving him that space, because they have an extra defender at the hoop. So if the defense goes under the screen, he's 100% going to pull up. He's going to shoot it himself, and he's an excellent shooter. If they give him that space, he's a career 38% three-point shooter. He's shooting over 40% from the field career-wise. So, of course, he's going to shoot himself. He's not going to make that pass or try to risk getting close to the hoop if they give him space. If the defense wants to switch on him and, let's say Nolan Winter gives him that screen in that pick and roll situation, that's when he's going to get to the hoop, because he's going to have a slower defender when they switch on him, a bigger, slower defender. And when he's in that situation in the pick and roll, he's going to get to the hoop. So mostly, if the defense decides to give him space on the pick and roll, if they go under the screen, he's going to pull up, take it himself, trust himself from the field or from beyond the arc and shoot the ball.
Man, that is an excellent breakdown. Let's talk athleticism for a high-level Division I point guard. Is going to be playing in the Big Ten, obviously. And listen, FAU and San Diego State are no slouches either. From an athleticism standpoint, where does he kind of stack up?
Yeah, so he's a 6'3" guard, which is kind of below average, I would say, in terms of height. generally. But in terms of athleticism, he is a really good north-south burst, and he really can push the pace in transition. And that's very good for athleticism. You're not going to see any flashy dunks from him where he's really going to show his athleticism. He's not that type of player. But his athleticism shows in the way that he pushes the pace in transition, turning defense into offense. And he's fast. He's really good footwork, and he can get up and down the court really well. He has a very good first step, which makes him that much better in the pick and roll, Ryan. So overall, I would look for his speed to be that main part of where he shows his athleticism, but the way that he can change the pace, and he's excellent at changing the offensive pace. And, Wisconsin typically, they're outside the top 300 in pace in adjusted time, according to KenPom. Last year, they were inside the top 150. So it's a different type of pace, and Nick is really good at controlling the pace. He's more of a free-flowing guard, and I think that's where he's going to show his athleticism with his speed and the fact that he could change the pace.
And having been to, I've already been to a couple practices and talking to people that have been to some of their closed media practices, we've already seen that. People have already talked about Nick Boyd pushing the pace, not just off of misses, but take the ball out of the make, get it out of the rim, and go quickly set up to offense. I'm curious if, and this is one of the questions we got, and I was going to save questions for later, but this one kind of dovetails into something we're talking about right now. Let me pull it up here. Cannon L asks, does he ever get out of control, or does he tend to reel everyone back and get under control? With that pace, with that tempo he plays with, is he a guard that'll get out of control?
Yeah, great question. When it comes to him getting out of control or reeling everyone back, most of the time he has, a high IQ with reading defenses. He's very disciplined in pick and roll situations. So he's not like a reckless type of guard who's going to take it himself in ISO, which shows that he's most likely going to stay in control. He's going to reset if, he doesn't like a screen from the offense, or if he sees something that he doesn't like from the defense. But he may get out of control if he gets a defensive rebound, wants to push the pace, take it himself, and take it himself to the hoop. And that's where, he's really good in secondary transition, where he can spot up, attack, and while he's in backpedal defense. And as Nick Boyd, his IQ is not going to make him have a stupid type of play where he doesn't, slow the pace, get everyone back in their spot. So mostly, he is going to keep the offense in control. If he doesn't like something, he's going to reset.
Let me ask you this. I'm a huge fan of Nick Boyd offensively. I think he's going to bring a massive element to this team. I think he's going to get guys like John Blackwell and Winter in great spots. He's going to push in tempo. I think he can hit open shots. I like his ability to finish at the rim. If you had to put your finger on maybe one thing that is, I don't want to say concerning, but maybe an area where Nick Boyd has tried to get better offensively, where would that be?
Yeah, good question. Some of the concerns, it's tough. I would say his turnover rate. He is 12.9 turnover rate, which is a lot higher than his FAU turnover rate, and that's in the bottom 40 percentile in guards in the Power 4. His defensive BPR is not the highest. It's at 1.1, but overall, I would say that on offense, one of my main concerns is the fact that he is going to turn the ball over, and he does turn it over at around that 13% rate, which isn't the biggest positive, but still, his assisted turnover rate is still positive, which is a huge plus for Wisconsin, and I think that's going to be great this upcoming year. Overall, I would say turnovers, he's got to control the ball better, especially when he wants to facilitate and get his teammates involved. He could make a wrong pass sometimes and not read the defense totally perfect. His size, right? 6'3", when you're going and driving to the hoop against bigger, more athletic defenses in the Big Ten. If there's a 6'8" defender and Nick doesn't get the ball off well, his shot could be blocked. And I think that's also huge because 6'3" is still undersized. So finishing could be a problem for him. And, again, his turnover rate is slightly below average.
That's a great question. Again, we're going to take a quick second here. We're going to keep JJ on the show because we're still talking Nick Boyd. Defense next. How does he stack up as a defender? And intangibles, culture, IQ. What type of person is he? We're going to talk about that next on Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick second for our friends of the show. And a quick second, as always, to say thank you for tuning in to Locked On Badgers. Really appreciate every single one of you. Today's episode brought to you by our incredible friends over at Supply House. If you have a project you're starting, you got to blow the opening whistle on a new repair, get your crew moving forward, get them going. You got to go to Supply House. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory, which by itself is a game changer. Honest lead times keep you from getting behind a project while they absolutely protect you with industry-leading customer support, customer service. If you need parts fast for a project, Supply House has next-day delivery, which is, again, a total game changer because you're not wasting time waiting for parts, waiting for things. And if you don't waste time, you don't waste money. They're a part finder, and they have a 3D schematic that can save you hours and tens and 20s and 30s of hours in trying to find the perfect part and the perfect detail. They got you covered on that as well. Right now, if you join the free Trade Master program today, you can score some serious perks, priority shipping, lower prices, dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to get started. Sign up for free. Use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Today's episode also brought to you by our incredible friends over at FanDuel, the official sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network. And so what if I missed on my over-under for the Wisconsin Badgers football win total? NFL season's here. Now we can talk NFL, live in-game betting, futures, parlays, teasers, spreads, all available on FanDuel. Incredible offer right now. New customers commit $5 and you can win $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's $300 if it hits, and you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Again, whether you're doing live in-game betting, futures, parlay, spreads, quick payouts, easy interface, FanDuel is incredible for all your sports. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com. Download the FanDuel app today to get started. You will not regret it. The quickest, easiest, fastest, simplest sports book in the country. That's why we use it over on the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, let's jump back into this awesome conversation, man. I am stoked to talk about what I consider one of the biggest pickups for the Badgers offseason. JJ, let's keep going on this. I want to get to defense, but I want to start here because he's a point guard. You know, and you and I both know that point guard is the engine of the team, the head of the team. What is he like as a person and as a leader?
Yeah, great question, Ryan. And, excited to talk defense, excited to talk who he is. As a person, Nick is probably one of the nicest people, most genuine people I know. And he's genuinely caring. He's very generous with his time. He'll join a podcast to space when you ask him. He gives back to the community a lot. He's big on giving to charities, on doing sponsorships where he doesn't get compensation, but just to help out. He hosts a yearly camp down here in South Florida to give back to kids in the community, to give back to them and to help them. And he does all of this usually just to help people out. And he's the kind of person who's going to set a great example as a role model. And he might honestly be better off the court than on the court, which is huge to say because of how good he is on the court. So overall, you guys are getting not just a great point guard on the court, but someone maybe even better, someone you guys should be proud of off the court.
Absolutely love that. Let's shift to, and I don't want to diminish that. I'm going to segue up to basketball leadership, but Badger fans want to cheer for good people. They want to cheer for people who care and who care about what they're doing on and off the court. So that's amazing to hear. On the court, games clutch, down to the wire, last minutes. What is he like under pressure? And that's actually a question. Let me throw that question up because that was another question we got. Let me throw it up here while I got it. Zach Bartz asks, how is he in crunch time? Does he rise up or fall flat?
Yeah, Zach, thank you so much for that question. I appreciate it. And it's a great question. One of the big moments that stands out to me is NCAA Tournament 2023 first round FAU versus Memphis. And the game is FAU is down 1 point, 5.5 seconds left on the clock. Nick's the inbounder, and he passes it in to the corner. He gets it back, and then he drives to the hoop, and he scores off a layup against the backboard. And that's one of the greatest plays in FAU history. They win that game by 2 points on a buzzer beater by him. He's very composed under pressure late, whether that's being a playmaker or taking himself. And I remember one of the biggest moments is in that game against Memphis, where it's the first round of the NCAA tournament. Dusty May calls timeout for FAU. Nick says in the huddle, "Coach, give me the ball." I'm going to make a play. He says that quote. He said that in his post-game interview. That's what he said in the huddle. So he wants it himself. He's confident in late-game situations, and that's great. You're not getting a guy who's going to fold under pressure. You're getting a guy who's going to rise to the moment and live up to the expectation that he has. So if he wants the ball, give it to him.
That's great stuff. Let's talk defense. So obviously a massive part of this point guard is one of your point of attack defenders. Wisconsin last year offensively was very efficient, led by guys like Tonje and Winter and Blackwell. Defense, there are some issues. Straight line drives against BYU and navigating screens, pick and roll situations defensively. Where does Poised stack up defensively?
Yeah, so Nick is usually guarding the opposing point guard. So the person who's going to take it up, and usually that's at the top of the key. He's primarily, he's not a bad on-ball defender. His defensive BPR ranks 1.1, which is how much he adds to the defense per 100 possessions, and that's 1.1, which ranks in the 60th percentile of guards according to Evan Maya Advanced Stats. So that's pretty good. He has a plus 12.9 ratio when on-court defense. That's 92nd percentile to guards last year at San Diego State. So he's a really solid defender. You mentioned it. There are some struggles, but he's very physical on defense, and he's aggressive as well. He can very much so cause contact, and definitely, he's gotta be aggressive without fouling, because we saw that a lot at FAU when he's in drop coverage. But still, I believe that he's a very solid defender, and his stats, according to his DBPR, is solid, and he is in the 92nd percentile in net rating defense. So again, he's not anything special on defense, but he's solid at defense. He's not a bad defensive guard, and he plays fully aggressive, and you can tell how physical he is on contact, on shot defense. And also, he's good at reading passing lanes. He's good at anticipating where defenders go because of his basketball IQ. Very physical, and he's great at transition defense when he's getting back on defense and filling holes. And, FAU, they really only played man when he was here, but he was very solid against his man.
What type of guard is going to give him trouble potentially? And to me, it feels like the archetype of the type of guard that might cause him some issue are the smaller, quicker, shiftier players, where maybe the bigger guards, he would hold up a little better with his physicality and competitiveness.
Yeah, great question. I would say the type of guard to give him trouble is someone who is super athletic and super explosive, because when you have a guard with elite speed going up against Nick, this is going to really challenge Nick in transition. When he's getting attacked off the dribble, he might try to go and work harder defensively, but it's really going to test him, test his defense, test his lateral quickness. And, I would say when he's going against a super athletic or explosive guard, the speed on defense, his footwork is good, but it could definitely give him trouble. But again, he gives up 3.6 points to the closest defender on average, which is pretty solid. And that was the 2023 year. That's the most latest stat we get on that. But again, he's a solid defender. He's not going to do anything special on defense. He's not going to wow you. He doesn't get blocks. He is aggressive. He's averaged 1 steal last year a game, which is solid. When you can get a guy who's giving you a steal per game, 1 steal could change the game just like that with how good he is in transition. So overall, a speedy guard could definitely catch him off guard, especially testing his lateral quickness.
I want to, if you're good, I would love to keep you for one more section. So we have some questions from people who want to hear more about Nick Poised. But I would love to just give you a second to tell everyone where they can find your work as well. Then we'll take a break and finish up the listener questions. But where can they find your work, JJ?
Yeah, you guys can find me over on X at JJ Metz FAU. I do a lot of Miami Dolphins FAU coverage on there. And then I also just started FAU Daily Podcast at FAU Night Owls. If you guys want to get some FAU news, make sure to subscribe, listen, all of that. Would really appreciate it again.
That's phenomenal, man. We're going to take one more quick break, come back, listener questions about Nick Poised, including maybe the most underrated part of his game that nobody talks about. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick second for our friends of the show. And as always, a quick second to say thank you for tuning into Locked On Badgers, for being part of this community. I appreciate you incredibly, incredibly so much. Today's episode brought to you by Mazda. Mazda does more than just move people. It crafts cars for people who want to do more than simply get from point A to point B, than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every single ride, with more IHS Top Safety Pick awards than anyone else as of August 2025. Plus, you get incredible craftsmanship from Napa leather upholstery to incredible all-wheel drive standard in every single crossover SUV, so you can drive in safety and in comfort, getting through any season. Which, if I'm in northern Wisconsin, I need that in every single season. That all-wheel standard drive is incredible in every Mazda. Like every single player, Mazda sweats every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, let's jump back into this with JJ, man. I really do appreciate it, as I said. And let's get some listener questions here as we finish off the Nick Boyd conversation. A lot of Badger fans are really excited about this. Badger Football Dead, he says, what is the most underrated part of his game that nobody talks about?
Yeah, so I would say IQ and the fact that he's so good in pick and roll, but we already talked about that. So I want to talk a little bit about his off-ball impact and just overall as a shooter. As I mentioned, he's 38% career three-point shooter. He's shooting over 40% from the field, but off the ball, he's very good as well. And at FAU, he ran a lot of designed handoff threes where he would come from the block to the top of the key, get a dribble hand up, and then pull up from deep. And that's really solid. That's what defenses might not expect from him, what he's going to do a lot next year at Wisconsin. And also off ball. When he's off ball, a lot of times he's going to set up in the corner or lift spot, and he's ready to catch and shoot. He is a really good release. So when he does catch and shoot, he's going to get it off, and he's very good from the corner or the wing. So I think Wisconsin and teams that are on defense against Wisconsin, whoever their opponent is, they have to watch out for his shooting and the impact that he makes off the ball. He's a really good feel for spacing, and he's very good at spacing the floor out and relocating after a pass to stay and keep the defense on their blind spot. So I definitely think, defenses have to look out for his shooting and his off-ball impact.
So the next one here, we talked about crunch time. We did talk about the defensive questions. Brian Shetty, this is a good question here. What's your favorite moment about Nick that maybe doesn't get talked about?
Can I give an off-court one?
Please. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about an off-court moment. And this is a story with me and him, which I really appreciate from him. Nick, in 2022, this was 3 years ago, I was 11 years old. This was the year before FAU had made the Final Four. So the year after Nick's injury, where he didn't play most of the season. And I would do these daily spaces because I love talking about sports. I love FAU, team I've been going to since I've been young. So I would do these spaces, and Nick would join them every single day. And just genuinely, we would have 3 or 4 people listening and genuinely talk about FAU. And from then, my connection with him has grown. I've got to cover him as a media member the year of the Final Four. This was before the Final Four. So before FAU had been, a top 10 team in the country, which is what they were the year after the Final Four. So this was a great season. Nick would always be generous with his time. And whenever we would start a space, Nick would always take his time out of his day, join the space, talk about where the team is, what he's doing in the off season. And he really helped my career and helped me get extra passionate in this industry. And I would get to interview him a lot. He'd always join my podcast, which FAU Owl's Nest also do that podcast once a week. He would always join whenever I would ask him, which was also great. After the game, he would spend hours signing autographs for fans, high-fiving fans even. And just, he's such a good person. He's so caring. And you guys are going to learn that soon with how he's going to give back to the Badger community. And you guys really got a really special person.
That's a phenomenal answer. Let me ask you this. What do you think he's maybe looking forward to most going into this Badger system or the Big Ten, really either or?
Yeah, so we mentioned why he took that step to transfer from San Diego State to Wisconsin. He told me he wants to get an opportunity to play at that Power 4 level. So in the Big Ten, he wants to play at that Power 4 level against good opponents. And I think he's really looking forward to the free flow space in this system because, now Wisconsin is playing kind of middle of the pace on offense where normally under Greg Gard teams, they would be towards outside the top 300, and now they're inside the top 150. So it's very free flowing for Nick, which is really what he loves in this system. And I think it's going to be great for him. And I think, they're going to utilize the pick and roll a lot. And Nick doesn't have to do it all. And he gets a guy in Blackwell who's coming back, who gave 16 points a game. And what really sold him is that he could be the type of guy that John Tonji was last season for Wisconsin. He thinks that he could step into that role this season, and his hands aren't going to be super full when you already have a guy who's, probably going to be on a Big Ten first, second, third team, and John Blackwell as well. So I think both those things with him playing in the Big Ten and the fact that it's free flowing and that he really likes the pace of this offense is going to be really solid for him.
Where's he at in the mid-range? I like his ability to get to the rim, especially against mismatches or switches. I like his ability to pick and pop. I like his ability in transition. If they're going to wall up, let me play drop where he's going to have to hit that 8 to 12 footer. What is he like in the mid-range?
Yeah, great question. So we saw a lot of times where he would pull up from either elbow or the free throw line at FAU, and we saw that a little bit last year as well. He's very good in the mid-range. I'd say his favorite spot is at that right elbow when it comes from inside the three-point line, and he loves shooting from there, and that's a great spot for him. And when the defense is going to fight through or go over a screen, he's going to try to go around that screen to the right elbow. And I think that's where he's going to try to pull up. But, what Nick wants to do most is Nick overall, he's not going to take a shot from the elbow or a mid-range shot unless it is very open where he's to the point that he's super confident that it's going to go in. He's not going to risk a shot where if the defense traps him or if there's a very good defender on it, he's going to take it because his overall role, and he knows that his role is to be that facilitator, get his teammates involved. He's an excellent passer, excellent playmaker. He could do it all, whether it's pass, pull up, get to the rim, and he's going to make sure that he makes the smarter and higher IQ decision. But I would say he's very solid at that right elbow, and again, 41.2% from the field a season ago, so very solid for him there.
Last question here, and I'm curious, and I don't really think there's a right or wrong answer to this, right? We've seen great NBA players, great college players, game-winning shot, they hunt their shot. We've seen others who hunt the best available shot. So, the game, Badgers down 1, Nick Boyd's going to have the ball as the point guard. They're going to set up some type of pick and roll action. Is he hunting his shot, or is he hunting the best shot for someone else to win the game?
Great shot. Great question. I think that he's going to be hunting the shot. He wants it late. He's confident in himself. And I think he's going to want the ball in his hands with 1 second left because that's just the type of player he is. He's a big-time player. And I know that contradicts what I was saying earlier with the fact that he wants to get his teammates involved. But also, he also kind of wants the game on his hands with 1 second left. Just that's what we saw in the FAU Memphis game 2 seasons ago. He's had opportunities where he has the ball late in the game. And if they are in pick and roll and the defense traps or doubles him, obviously he's going to make the pass. But if he sees a shot that he likes, he's going to take it himself, especially if he has a hot hand and he's looking good from the perimeter or from mid-range. So I would say he's going to want to hunt it himself in most cases.
I love it, man. He is the great JJ Metz. Dude, I cannot tell you, I told you before, humbled to have you on. Always appreciate people coming on, giving their time, giving their perspectives. I think Badger fans are smarter about Nick Boyd because you gave us some time. Because of that, thank you. I appreciate it, man. It's great stuff.
Man, Ryan, I really appreciate you having me on. It was a lot of fun to come on today's show, talk about Nick. And Nick's going to be on a space. We're scheduling the time in the midst of it. And Ryan's going to be a co-host on. And we just want to give the Badger fans options to not ask these questions, secondhand to me, but ask them up front. to Nick on the spaces so anyone can join. We're going to have a time soon where we can talk to Nick, and this is going to be on X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it. So I'm really excited for that. And again, Ryan, absolute pleasure to be on, and thank you so much for having me.
Heck yeah, I can't wait, man. For everyone tuning in on Wisconsin, as always, I know it's a little rough time right now with football, but basketball's coming up, and this team is going to be cooking offensively on Wisconsin. Thank you so much for tuning in, as always, and we will talk tomorrow.